From the Arkansas Sports Network, it's an in-depth Arkansas Razorbacks podcast featuring the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brad Caldwell.
When I grew up, I remember the Quinn Grovey days where the SWC champions in 88 and 89. I mean, that was the time that I grew up. That's the time that I got hooked on Razorbacks.
Around here, we call him the Rain Man of Arkansas Razorback Sports, Mr. Jaran Miller.
Real quick, speaking about going down to Baton Rouge, and all the corn dogs and all that nature. But y'all remember the time Bobby Boucher intercepted the quarterback and his pants fell off?
And finally, he wears his hair upside down and he pushes all the buttons, Mr. Bill Harshaw.
When you look at the Razorback athletic program across the board, Hunter Yurichek's got this thing moving in the right direction because these kids are looking at Arkansas athletics going, hey, Arkansas is the place to be, and we haven't had that in a while.
Everyone get ready, because you're now connected to the Razor Wire.
And welcome into yet another episode of the Razor Wire. I'm Bill Harshaw. Joining me as always, Brad Caldwell and a beardless Jaran Miller. Welcome to the show, guys.
It's like
everybody's eyes just went boom. Thank you.
It's like I'm the only one that doesn't have a beard, and I tried this futile way of growing a beard a few weeks back, and so now Jaran supposedly he joins my club, but even looking at his face, he's obviously still got more than I have.
He can grow it back pretty quick.
Yeah,
you got like a half Fu Manchu thing going on.
Yeah, it's really just trying to cover a double chin. If I was skinnier, I wouldn't have it. I promise you.
Right. There you have it.
That's how you feel.
But hot off the Razor Wire tonight, we're going to talk a lot about fall camp football, and I know that's something that a lot of people have been excited about. Is Razorback football. It's coming, guys.
That's right.
It's coming.
It's here. Not just it's here. I mean, we're in fall camp. There's full updates to go along with that. And by the way, let me say this. If you want everything that you can even think of about the Razorbacks, go like the Arkansas Sports Network. I'm telling you, a lot of good things happening. You're going to see some good stuff happening here very soon with not only the Razorbacks, but even some high profile high school stuff.
That's right. And we're following the Razorback ball camp. We got the whole schedule going on here. And so we're looking every day. We know what's going on, when the meetings are, and we're going to try to bring all of that to you each week. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. This is the one that we've all been waiting for. We were excited about, basketball. We were excited about baseball. And we want to be excited about football, and it's that time of year again. I know we promised that we were going to wait to hold off on the Kool-Aid until after the show. I don't know if I can wait that long.
Oh, man.
There you go.
That's watermelon. No. Oh, man, yeah. We're extremely excited. Today's the first day of fall camp, boys. First day of practice today, and super excited to get that ramped up. I love this time of year every year. Always recording the sports on the news. I'm one of those guys that record 2 or 3 different ones just so I can see the different angles, and I might see a guy and be like, man, dude, he's looking great. He's gained 10 pounds or whatever. And just to get all the angles and footage I can. But going back to what Brad was saying about the Arkansas Sports Network, definitely y'all need to be following that, because I've had my own personal group on Facebook for years. And what I basically do in there is, I've all these people, different places I get different tidbits, and I share it to that. But since I've helped kind of get into the Arkansas Sports Network, and we've kind of grown this over the last year or so, almost everything I ever need, I get from one source now. So used to, I'd share all these different places, and now I'm just sharing Arkansas Sports Network, because almost basically everything I need is on there. And it's something that we're real passionate about and love to do, and love to keep y'all up to date. And it's something that I've kind of wanted to do for years. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's definitely something that y'all should check out.
Big things are definitely coming to the Arkansas Sports Network, guys. We can certainly put it to you that way. And it looks like big things are coming to the Razorback field as well. As Coach Sam Pittman hosted his opening camp press conference. And here's what Coach Pittman had to say.
We're very well prepared. Our staff is very well prepared. I love what we're doing in our 25 days. That we have 29. We've already been kind of through last year in the non-padded walks, and so the spider days, the 7 spiders, and I mean, we think we can get a lot of work in spiders. So I'm really not too concerned about a whole lot of things, except we had to find some positions, and it may not be just totally the starter, but I think we talked about the returners. I mean, those things are big for us, but they're not concerning because I think they're on our team. We just have to make sure we get the best one. Obviously, KJ Jefferson is one going into fall camp, and then after that, I think obviously Malik Hornsby is sitting right there at 2. I think John Stephen Jones. We talked about it yesterday. Obviously, they're all going to compete, but I think we have to make sure who our 3 is before we decide whether they're going to be able to compete at that level for the 2 spot. And so we're doing reps accordingly to that. But you've got several guys right in there with Renfro and Coley and John Stephen Jones. Those guys right there. We've got to find who is our solid 3 first, and then we'll let them go attack the 2 spot as well. We're going to have a big emphasis on 3rd and short throughout the camp, and we're going to have a big emphasis on being able to run the football, as in, you hate to take a read away, but for the quarterback where he can throw it, but as in we're going to run the football. The defense knows we're going to run the football. We're not going to try to throw the slant behind it or anything. We're just going to turn around and hand it off, see what we can get accomplished. The only way I know how you do that is you go practice it, and you do it with bigger and stronger players, and that's what we have returning. We believe that the way we practice, and more importantly even that, is the way that we transition. So when we get on and off the field, if you look to see how many times we transition in a practice, you're looking at a lot of sprints at that point. As long as we do that and our transition's good, I believe that we'll have a team, because Jamil and his staff did a great job of getting them in shape. As long as we do that, I feel like we're going to be in prime shape to go out there and compete. Now, part of your shape goes with what's your depth like as well. This is as big a gain in the summer as I've seen, and it's pretty much all around. I don't know the marks that we set, but there was a significant gain in strength, weights where we needed it. We have a 5-pound radius. In other words, we pick, not for the head coach, but for everybody else, we have a 5-pound radius where they have to stay within 5 pounds of our target rate. And we were over 90% of those guys that did that. It has to be either 5 below or 5 ahead or 5 above. We're trying to find our best, first. And certainly we've added 3 guys in the transfer portal that we feel like are certainly going to compete for those jobs as well. But I think the defensive line, in a nutshell, has improved tremendously this summer with their size. You look at Zach, and Zach Williams is, he's 260 now, where he's getting knocked around about 228, 225 last year, and I can go on and on about specific guys as far as their weight gain and their strength gain. That room's got to get better. They know it. The first thing, they have to be consistent in their work ethic. I think that's getting better, but they need a leader in that group that's going to lead by example, and hopefully we'll find that from tomorrow on. I'm really looking for team leadership. I want to see the team push each other, and the more the team can control the tempo, the strain of practice, the better football team you're going to have. We'll certainly have our expectations, but you'd like for the expectations to be met by the players. And that's when you have a pretty good football team and they feel like they own the team. And so that's probably the number one deal, because coming out of the spring and coming out of summer, you felt like the team was getting ready to take its ownership of themselves. And then that becomes belief, and a lot of certainly confidence comes out of that. So that would be the number one thing. Defensively, we have to be able to get the offenses we're playing behind the chains. I think that's the biggest thing for Barry and them is, quit getting into 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, and let's go to 2nd and 12 and 2nd and 10. Give ourselves a little bit better chance. Certainly 3rd downs, getting off the field was a big part of that as well. And then on offense, we're going to make a big deal, as I said, about running the ball on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. We certainly have to get better at protecting the football. So in our practice schedules that we made, there's quite a bit more emphasis on 9-on-9 type of pocket pass protection. If everybody in the building knows you're going to throw the football or run a draw, so does every defense we play, and we have to be able to protect it. We can't continue to give up the sacks that we did last year. And sacks happen for a lot of different reasons. It can be a line, it can be a back, it can be a quarterback, it can be receivers not getting open. But sacks, as we all know, are negative plays, and we have to get rid of those. And so that'll be a big emphasis for us over the next 25 practices.
So that's Coach Sam Pittman talking on his opening introductory press conference for fall camp. And guys, what are your thoughts coming out of that press conference?
Well, I love when I think about what Pittman says. Every time that I think about what Pittman says, it's culture. Culture. There's always a culture that comes. It's Sam Pittman. I heard him say something along the lines of he made a 18 on his ACT in high school, But Sam Pittman is one of those guys that is like super sharp, and he's very smart. He may not be the best test taker, or he may not be the most book smart guy, but dude knows people. And every time I see something or hear something he says, I just think this guy's bringing a culture to this team that it's lacked for several years. I could even go back into the Bielema years, where we really lacked a culture, especially in those late Bielema years. And so that's the biggest things that I take away right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that blue collar mentality. And when you found out he had an 18, you're thinking, man, maybe I could be an SEC coach one
Exactly.
day.
Right? Well, hey, let me stop you before you say that.
Go ahead.
And I may have already said this before, but one thing
score?
that makes me think that I can coach in the SEC is that I have beaten an SEC coach in flag football. Okay,
Eli Drinkwitz.
I did it. Eli Drinkwitz.
Oh,
we
man.
were rivals on the flag football field. I beat him more than he beat me. I think it was 2-1. So back to your thought.
If you would have just been better friends with Gus Malzahn, where could you be right now?
You went the wrong way on that one.
Oh, man.
Boom!
There's the Kool-Aid. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, right. Okay, it's Friday, man. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I love his blue collar mentality, and I love what he was talking about in that presser was about how they're going to get back to being physical. They're going to work a lot on short yardage situations, taking out, the only way to get better running the ball is to work on it, to do it over and over, and to get that physicality in there. They're going to have some times in practice where they're not doing a read play, or they're not going to throw a slant in behind the defense. They're going to sit there and they're going to pound. The defense is going to know what's coming. And it's back to that old, iron sharpens iron kind of thing. It's just, that's the mentality you got to have to really become physical.
And that's what
And
Arkansas has been missing over the last
yes,
several seasons is,
100%.
we find ourselves on first down, we're behind the sticks already. We're trying to catch up on second down, and third down's not manageable. And that's what Coach Pittman is talking about is let's get this thing down to where we're looking at a manageable, third and short, something like that, to where we can easily get that first down, 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of thing. And we're sitting here looking at our backfield going, we don't have Darren McFadden. Our offensive line needs to beef up. We need to be more physical. We need to gain some weight. We need to be able to push some pounds to open up some lines, because listen, we don't need our running back to get hurt. And we
No
need to have
doubt.
and we need to have somebody to get some fresh legs going.
Okay, but let's talk about running backs too. Obviously, you've got to have people that block for those running backs. But I think that looking at the talent that's in the backfield right now, you've got more talent in the backfield than you had in quite a while, depth wise,
Mhm.
for sure. And I found it very interesting to what Sam Pittman talked about, where he was talking about the running back room. And Jaran, you kind of touched on this earlier. Tell
Yeah.
them a little bit about what you caught in that press conference.
Yeah, I mean, someone asked him, it might have been Trey Biddy, I don't remember the reporter, but he said, last year Grant Morgan was a guy that kind of was off the radar. He wasn't really thought about, and he ends up being an All-American. I mean, he had an unreal season. Is there another guy that you kind of see that could kind of come out of nowhere and surprise us? And Pittman was basically like, he couldn't really think of nobody off the top of his head. But then he said this, and I found this very interesting, that he said, whoever ends up being our number 2 running back, I think at the end of the year, y'all are going to have a lot to say and a lot to talk about that number 2 running back. And what that says to me is, I feel like he feels like we're going to have a pretty good running team this year, and I feel like he thinks there's a lot of talent fighting for that second spot behind Traylon Smith. So I mean, we've got a bevy of guys back there. You talked about the talent, most talent we've had in a while. I'm excited to see AJ Green. This guy is track star speed. I mean, I think he's ran like a 10-300 meters. You've got Javion Hunt. That guy came in at midterm and kind of went through the spring. Raheem Rocket Sanders was a receiver. They moved him to running back. He went through spring practice as a running back, and he's gained like 5 more pounds. Dude looks like a Greek god, like you said earlier, Brad. He's like 6'1", 225 now. And we've also got Dominic Johnson. That guy he's kind of flirting with that fullback range because he's been around 240, and he's actually trimmed up to 235. And I remember in the spring game watching him, he had some nice runs, breaking some tackles, and I think he's going to help us out as well. So there's somebody there that he definitely believes is going to get on the field a lot and going to really have a lot of success this season. And
So
I'm excited about that.
when you're looking at that, and of course we're going to rule out, for the sake of this discussion, we're going to rule out injury, COVID, or something like that. But who do you look at? You mentioned off a lot of names there, guys. You mentioned off, Green, Sanders, Hunt, Johnson, a lot of big names. I'm interested to see what Rocket Sanders can develop into. I know as a former wide receiver, he's going to have some speed, and he's usually going to have some evasiveness to him. So I'm interested to see what Rocket Sanders can bring to the table. But who's going to be the one of all those guys? Who's going to be the one that steps up and says, "I'm going to take that role"?
No, I think it's got to be either Rocket Sanders or AJ Green. I think those are your 2 most talented guys. Now, with that said, Johnson's got the experience. Experience is important when you look at situations like this. But I kind of way Duran put it, I'm really interested in what was said there because obviously Sam Pittman is seeing something in one of these guys that he thinks he's going to be very, very good. He didn't say who. He don't want to say. I don't want him to say who. Let that happen on the field. We don't want people to be looking out for this guy before he even steps on the field. But I've got to think it's one of those guys that's the freshman and those 2 guys that are super, super talented. And it's got to be Green. It's got to be Sanders, in my opinion.
Right. And we've got Traylon Smith, and we know what kind of back he is. He's a jitterback kind of guy, and he's a physical guy though too for a guy his size. And that's what makes him special and do what he did last year. When you compare him, if he ends up being a Johnson, I mean, those are a big change of pace. And even Sanders, 225. I mean, Smith's lucky to hit 190, about 5'7". So big time change of pace guys. And I can't wait to see what Browse does with some of them and AJ Green. You know what all they're gonna do. What kind of special plays they might have out of the backfield for him to get him in space. And a guy we're not talking about that we've kind of forgot to bring up there was TJ Hammons. He's one of those super seniors that's back. He's been around the block. You know, he's always been kind of. He'll have those moments where, you know, if it wasn't for him, we don't beat Ole Miss. Beat them as last year. We don't beat. It was back-to-back games there.
Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina. That was the other one. And you know, I think they've liked what they've seen out of him. So, but I mean, but I would put my money on Rocket Sanders. I really am excited about his potential. He looks like Terrell Owens. I mean, he's just jacked up, and I really hope he plays that way. You know, he's got a lot of tools, and I'm excited. Like I said, we'll see what Browse does with some of those guys.
This team looks like they have more depth all the way around. Offensive line, running backs, quarterback room is even better, at least body wise, you would think. I mean, to think that, you know, it wasn't very long that John Stephen Jones had a chance to be the starter at one point, you know, and now we're not even talking about him as a third teamer. Defensive guys, you know, you got 20 starters back all over. And I mean, most of your defensive starters are back except for defensive line. I think you've got, you know, some depth here, which is good. That means that we're building something here. We're seeing the ground floor. And what I like is that Arkansas is not going to win every game this year. We know that. But what I like is I think that what we are going to see is a team that's not going to be a pushover for very many teams.
I think you're right. Now, I do know you know, with depth goes, you know, the one area that we don't have a whole lot of depth at right now is the tight end position. You know, we have Kern and the other guy back there, and they're taking most of the reps. That's the one area where we don't have, and we need somebody to step up in that area. But stepping up seems to be a big kind of theme of this camp. You know, Pittman talked about it in his press conference, where he's needing people to step up, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And he needs people to step up and be leaders. And it's interesting that we're sitting here this late in the fall, you know, camp, well, early in the fall camp, but, you know, so close to the season start. And we're going, you know, who's going to be number 2? And we have all of these people that, you know, we kind of know who they are, but we haven't really seen what they can do in Pittman's offense yet. And so that's what's interesting to me is there's so many people with so many possibilities who can step up and be a leader.
Who can? Well, you want quarterback to be the leader. I mean, you want KJ Jefferson to step up and let this be his team. I mean, that's the guy. Who's it going to be? Who knows? I mean, Grant Morgan, I think, is a guy that you can absolutely look at on the defensive side of the ball. I think there's actually Catalan. Catalan's another guy. Bumper Pool's another one. Guys with experience. That's the biggest thing is you got to have guys that are experienced. You've also need guys that have been here for a little while. You know, these transfers that are coming in, you don't want those guys to be your leaders because they don't have the culture. They don't understand the culture that Sam Pittman is trying to bring here to the Razorbacks.
Well, I'll tell you two people that do understand that culture is Jalen Catalan and Traylon Burks. They understand what Pittman is looking at, and they know that somebody has to take ownership in that locker room. And they are working towards making that happen. Here's what Jalen Catalan and Traylon Burks had to say about becoming leaders.
But I can say that I've started to, you know, speak louder, you know, address people that aren't, you know, if he's not giving more, hey, come on, like, give just a little more for this person that isn't, you know, that can't do it. So I can say, like, it has helped me by, like, I'm starting to lead more by talking, as I can say. So that's just how I'm leading.
Same thing as him. I'm the same way. I like to lead by example.
Right.
I wasn't this guy that was trying to talk or be this guy that was just trying to be voiced every single time something was happening. But I've never, you know, coach sat me down and said, this team needs you to be, you know, just because he could see from his eyes that people would respond to me in a different way. You know, people would, like, hear my voice and listen, you know. So I started seeing that, especially towards this off season. And so I took that challenge of just being more vocal for the guys, you know what I'm saying? I'm a guy that just wants to do what the team needs, you know what I'm saying? So I knew that there were some guys that looked up to me and loved to hear me talk, you know, so I kind of made that a focal point to make sure I was out there talking, being communicative, you know, not only on things that were going wrong, but some good things, you know what I'm saying? I always say as much as you want to bring someone, get on somebody, you got to build somebody as well. So I try to make that emphasis. I do both.
So yeah, I mean, so they're stepping up. We know they are. We know that, we have a whole plethora of people that we know. You just mentioned them, Brad. People that can step up. But you also said the biggest one that needs to step on the field is the one that we haven't really seen in that role yet, and that's KJ Jefferson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And KJ did a wonderful thing coming in the Missouri game, and we've seen him now in an SEC game. Although Missouri's defense was pathetic last year, but Arkansas, he still did a great job. He scored. I mean, took the team down and scored game-winning touchdown when he had to. Game-winning 2-point conversion. I mean, he did the things that he needed to do in a situation where it didn't look good. You think about it when you think my first thought was when I found out that Franks was not going to play. I was like, well, that's it. Game over.
Exactly.
And Jefferson came in, played very well. Now it's got to take it on. It's got to take it up to the next level. And it's got to be a consistent thing. Think about that. I mean, consistency matters, okay? In life, consistency matters. If you stay consistent with something, you're going to end up being successful at it some way, shape, fashion, or form. And he has got to be not just the leader, but he's got to be consistent every single day.
That's right. I mean, it's. I love your take on consistency there, but I mean, it's like he can come in like in that Missouri game, and he really showed out. And honestly, we'll never know. It's kind of like you remember when Tyler Wilson came in for Ryan Mallett against Auburn the year they won the championship against Cam Newton. It's hard to say Cam. I want to say something else, but anyways, we won't know what would have happened if we would have done better with Mallett in there, or if we would have done better with Felipe Franks last year. But like you were, I was like, man, this game's over right here. We just lost Franks. KJ comes in and completely proves me wrong. We should have won that game. It came down to the end, but it's kind of like the old analogy on consistency. It's kind of like a microwave. The microwave isn't any hotter. I don't know if you ever heard this, but first time you put something in the first 5 seconds, it's the same temperature as it is the last 2 minutes. Okay. But it's a consistency thing. It's consistently heating all the way through. And if you can be consistent like that, and if we can get that kind of leadership from KJ Jefferson this year, it's going to speak volumes. It's going to do so much for this team. And I'm excited because I feel like the O-line is finally back to they're able to hold their own and really maybe even outperform some other teams. And I don't think we've had that in several years since Pittman left, to be honest.
I think one of the things that, as we're talking about, KJ needing to be the leader, I think, and of course, as a fan, we haven't been able to see it. Our only glimpse has been, like you said, the Missouri game. But these guys that are practicing with him every day, they do get to see KJ in a more intimate manner. And I do think that he's able to kind of demonstrate some leadership abilities here, because Catalon and Burks, they have full faith in KJ and what KJ can do. And here's what Catalon and Burks had to say about KJ Jefferson.
I'm 100% confident in KJ. That's my boy, but basically like blood. And for him to come in against in the Missouri game and show us what he could do, that just showed a lot of us. I know it showed the defense and the offense, that he's capable of leading this team, and I'm 100% confident in him.
Just the way he came in last year, off situation, just having, just from the start of the year, when Felipe came in, it was like anybody could have been down and been like, oh, I thought this was my year, but he never had the attitude. He just came in ready to work and was just a sponge. I mean, he soaked in more information, tried to learn from Felipe and everything. When it was his time, he stepped up and he made plays and he showed that he can lead this team and gave everybody a glimpse of what he can be. So I'm 100%, on board with KJ. There's no ifing about that. And that's not just for him. I think he's getting run for his money from all the other quarterbacks as well, coming in as well. So it should be a good battle for sure. And I think we have the quarterback room is going to be real good this year.
So again, that's Catalon and Burks talking about KJ Jefferson. And, I think based on what they say, he's showing some potential both in and on the off the field and off the field, that he can be that leader. And, again, we mentioned that we've seen that in in the Missouri game, and we certainly hope that trend continues.
Absolutely. And again, it's got to be your quarterback. I mean, really, he's the leader of your team. That's why he's your guy. That's why he's the guy that touches the ball every time, because he's the guy that is going to put you in the best position. He's also the guy that the team rallies around, offense and defense. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so you got to hope that it's KJ, because if it's not KJ, it's going to be a long year. I mean, really, when you think about it, because we just don't have somebody. We don't have a Felipe Franks to go to this year. I mean, he is the Felipe Franks in a lot of ways. KJ has a lot of ability. I think the apprehension that we have as fans, we just haven't seen it all, for a consistent basis.
Well, one of the things
it makes you concerned.
It does, and one of the things that people have noticed about KJ is he's gained a little weight over the off season, and that's what Pittman kind of references back to what Pittman was saying, as far as we got to be physical, we have to maintain that diet, we have to stay plus and minus on our weight goals, and we're seeing KJ get bigger, and when you look at who's behind him in that number 2 spot is Hornsby. Does he have the size to get hit every down? He doesn't have that size, and I would worry he may get broke. So I'm with you, Brad. I think we need to make sure that KJ stays healthy and give him the reins. But we'll talk more here after the break. We can take a quick break and talk more about fall camp and kind of look ahead at the start of the season. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment. Here on the Razor Wire, Bill Harshaw, Brad Caldwell, Jaran Miller along with me. And guys, we're getting ready. We're talking about fall camp. And again, Catalong and Burks were the designated individuals to talk to the media. And again, it was mentioned during the press conference that normally it's a room full of kids to talk to, and COVID has kind of narrowed that down. Their take during that press conference was, look, 90% of us have been vaccinated. It's something, it's kind of like a thing in the past. We're not playing pandemic anymore, and we're kind of moving forward, and that allows us to focus all of our concentration on getting better and becoming better teammates, and developing that chemistry that they were talking about with KJ. But that's what we're looking for on this team, and so far, by all indications, that's what we're getting.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of us as individuals, there's a lot of talk back and forth on vaccinations. Some people are for it, some are against it, but this is a team sport. So it's kind of one of those things that you're buying in for one main thing. And these guys want to be on the field. They don't want to be contact traced and all that and miss games. And like Sankey's saying, basically, you're going to forfeit this year if you're going to have to miss because of it. So they've bought in. They're 90% vaccinated. That's a lot better than some of the other schools. I think most of them are going to catch on, and a lot of them are still up there close to that. But we're going to see that for the most part, I think, everywhere. And that's just kind of part of that culture that they're getting all together. It's one of those things you go through during that, the fall camp, getting set up. So that's just part of it. And I think it's a big deal that they're all bought in, and it just shows they're on the right page there. That just, it speaks more volumes of Pittman and how he understands all that, and how he's getting the team set up to go through this war of an SEC slate that they're fixing to go through this season.
I don't know about y'all, but I will be so glad when I don't have to hear about vaccinations and COVID.
They're socially distancing.
Exactly. I'm
The Delta,
so
the
tired
Alpha, the Omega, all.
I don't.
Right.
I'm just so tired of hearing about all of it. We're in 2021. This was supposed to be 2020.
Then we're watching the 2020 Olympics, and I'm sitting there going, I thought we got that year over with already. But, but Catalan and Burks, again, they being the designated media representatives to talk to the media, they did talk a little bit about what you're saying, Brad, as far as having that gel, that chemistry. And here is what Catalan and Burks had to say in their comments.
I honestly could say just by how close we've gotten, like just the brotherhood of the team. Like we've all just, started linking arms together, offense, defense, special teams. We see each other, brother. We outside of football, you see offensive players with defensive players hanging out, and you can just tell that it's a different environment.
Same thing, kind of what he said. We just kind of came closer as a team together, just doing activities together outside of football. I know DBs did a good job of just being with each other because we just try to build chemistry with the new guys and honestly the people that have been here. You can never get too close with somebody, and that's the same thing. It wasn't just DBs; it was receivers. We were close with quarterbacks, O-line, special teams. I think that's what's made us a lot better, not only on the field but just a chemistry standpoint. I'm not too worried about standings, what people say, what we're going to be. At the end of the day, it's in our control what we can do, and we're just going to show people what we're about this year. Like I said, I'm not into the whole social media, what other writers write about the Arkansas Razorbacks. At the end of the day, I know we got on offense. I know we got our defense. I know we got a head coach that's damn proud to be our head coach, and we're going to show that this year.
Yeah, just like he said, we too much really don't worry about what people pick us to be. People picked us not to win at all last year. Who cares? We just go out and play for us and the Arkansas Nation, and I think that's all that matters to us. When I was watching the basketball team, how they went from nothing to something so quick, it just made me think, like, why can't that be us? And I would always tell, like, certain of my receiver group and some of the old linemen, like, just look at them, like that could be us. All we have to do is just put our head down and go to work and not worry about what the outside noise is saying, and anything's possible.
I think our motivation is just seeing that, like seeing how much the fans were there and the atmosphere they got to live in. Those are moments that not everybody gets to live. So I'm like, that's the same thing he said. Like, why not us? You know what I'm saying? It's not just for us. We thought it's going to be something great for the fans. You know what I'm saying? People that put all this investment into us. You know what I mean? We got to put on something for them to give back. So, that's why I think we're so motivated because we're trying to get back on the radar. Just let everybody know that what Arkansas football is supposed to be like. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just excited for the season coming up with the boys. And
honestly, as you can see, like we put our trust into the nutritionists and the strength staff, and as y'all can see, it shows a bunch. We come in during the off season, we worked hard. Running, lifting weights, it didn't matter. Numbers in bench press, squat, all that went up, and we just can't thank the strength staff enough.
Yeah, the strength staff put us through a lot this year. They tried to push to our limit, see if we would give out and who would step up to the challenge. And I think everybody did. For the most part, everybody was tentative. They were ready to go, and they were just ready for whatever came to them, And our nutritionist this year was she did a great job of just making sure everybody was on top of the nutrition, making sure everybody had everything they need. I know, like, we had more snacks than we ever had. Just the availability of having, and we weren't afraid to ask questions either. She was always giving us tips on things that we can do to help our bodies and help us live a better life. And everybody took that seriously. So the strength staff and nutrition was really good this year.
So again, that's Jalen Catalon and Traylon Burks talking about just kind of general comments as they get ready to go into fall camp, and of course weight gain. That's the big thing that people were looking for this offseason.
Yep, and I feel like that what we've seen out of the weight room has been great. Coach Walker there, I think we've got a great strength and conditioning coach. I think coming out of Georgia, he knows what it's supposed to look like. He knows what these guys are supposed to be doing. I mean, if we get a team that looks like Georgia at any point, at any time, hey, that's where we want to be.
That's right. I mean, getting that first full year, last year we didn't really even have a spring. A lot of these workouts they had to do on their own. Being truly through there with Walker this entire year, I mean, it's big. They talk about that a little bit, and I love that Pittman said that, basically they all had about a 5-pound limit, plus or minus of the goal they had set of where they wanted them to be, and like about 90% of the team hit that goal. So I mean, that's huge, and I love Burks. He's lost weight a little bit, and he's trimmed up just a hair, basically the same. I think last year he was listed as big as 230, maybe 233. I want to say I saw one. So he's like 227, 228 now, he said. And that excites me because look at the guy. I mean, remember what he did last year? He was just a beast, okay? And now he's trimmed up. He's gotten the best shape of his life. And it kind of reminds me of back in that 2012 season with Kobe Hamilton, or was that 11? The 11 year when John L. Smith was here. And he broke all the SEC Arkansas records. I know it was a horrible year, but Kobe Hamilton has all the records because of that year. I think it was 95 receptions, like 1,300 plus yards. And he kind of did that. And they said, you know, they were talking about it the same way. He's in the best shape of his life. And I really like that comparison. I really think Burks is going to show off this year. If we can get that consistent quarterback play from KJ, then I'm really excited about the potential there. They also talked about Devion Warren. He's actually gained 5 pounds. And they talked about his work ethic coming back from that recovery or that injury, you know, his recovery process and how he took it so serious. And he's just, you know, done everything he can do to this point. He's gained 5 pounds. They say he looks faster than ever. He's stronger than ever. That guy was starting to come on. You remember that Auburn game? He had one of those touchdowns late in the game when we got our big comeback in that game. So, I mean, I'm really excited about him and some of the other guys we got behind him out there. But just really love what we're seeing on the offensive line and the D lines in this weight gain and getting us to where we want to be. Pittman talked about Zach Williams. He's about 225 last year, just getting blown off the ball at DN, and now he's about 260. That's going to help us a lot. I love that guy's potential. Big, long arms. Really, really fascinated with what he could become this year for us.
Pittman talks all the time about big people.
Yeah.
Says that all the time. And if you look back at the lines that we had when Pittman was here and very successful, I mean, massive human beings. And
Chichola,
we've talked about some of this before, that you can see that, especially in those younger guys. But man, I cannot wait. Honestly, can't wait to see what that offensive line is going to look like because of what we're all talking about right now with the weight gain and the training and all of that.
Right.
Not only that, but the conditioning that goes into it. You know, Pittman also talked in his comments about how he doesn't want to make them run as a punishment. It's not like, you know, we want to punish them by making them get better. You know, that's not what it's for. It's all about the consistency, having them run on and off the field during sets and practice. That's where they get their conditioning from. And you could tell in a lot of those games last year, second half kind of went right on down and wasn't doing too well.
Right. And, you know, you've got to be in shape. You've got to be ready to take the physical toll in the SEC. And if you're not, you're going to lose. And again, we go back to strength and conditioning. The strength and conditioning coach, Coach Walker, I feel like Arkansas is in good hands. I do.
By all indications, I agree. You know, everything looks good. And then another point that I would like to bring up that I mentioned, you know, noticed during the Catalon and Burks interview was their comments on the name, image, and likeness. It was something that we all discussed several episodes back about, where we were wondering if this was going to be something that would be a change in the dichotomy of the locker room. Is it going to tear that locker room apart because you have the rivalry? This guy's getting more in his deal than I'm getting mine, and you know, I'm better than him. And by all indications, what they said in that on that interview is it's making them stronger. They're proud of each other, but they leave that at the door because they all have the same goal in the end. And that goal is not to sell a sponsorship. That goal is to make the football team better.
For me, I say it's a great opportunity. You know, I think it's great for people to have the opportunity to make money off their name. You know what I'm saying? But I think what the team has done a great job of this whole thing was just making sure that it didn't impact our team and, you know, people coming, you know, not being focused. You know what I'm saying? We all have one goal, and that's to win this season. You know what I'm saying? So anything that tries to get in the way of that, that's not going to happen. I know for myself, you know, I'm putting the team before any of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm making sure I'm present wherever I have to be at, where my feet are, that's where I'm going to be at. You know what I'm saying? All the other stuff can wait. I got bigger goals, and that's just to help this team win and make Arkansas proud.
And yeah, I can say what he said, and it's just like, you know, you can see from like I can use myself and him for example. Like we didn't, once we got our NIL deals, you know, it was just okay, we got that, but we still have a team right here too, and we didn't put that before the team. And so I just say, as from seeing it from from our standpoint, nobody has, you know, put the NIL things before the team, and that's good to see. And going in the season, knowing that nobody's worried about, oh, I got this much money, it's just gonna make the team better by, you know, just attacking it like we do.
So that's what they said about the name, image, and likeness, and I thought that was kind of interesting because what we were concerned about, they also were concerned about, and they're making sure that's not happening.
It comes from the top down. Sam Pittman.
Sure.
I mean, that's it. He sets the tone, and that's where that's at.
It goes back to, like you said, it's all about culture, and you can see right now in the interviews, you don't even have to take the field before you can see that Pittman's influence on culture is making an impact already.
Compare and contrast, if you will, what we're seeing in the interviews right now versus what we saw in 2019 in those interviews. And you could tell, man, that Chad Morris lost that group. He
Right.
lost that group. And they were not with him. You could see it. They said it. You know, there was no like ifs, and or buts. Scooter Harris is a
That
guy that comes to my mind.
Yeah, club dub backfired on Chad Morris in the worst
Absolutely.
kind of way. And, you know, Pittman is not having that problem. It seems like not only do everybody that's playing for him in that locker room love him, but also it seems like the fans do as well. And,
Yep.
you know, one thing that all the fans were kind of curious about, you know, breaking news last week was, you know, with Texas and Oklahoma wanting to join the SEC. What's Pittman's thoughts on that dynamic? And he didn't really have anything to say about those two teams specifically, but what he did talk about was the old Southwest Conference rivalry with Arkansas and all those Texas teams. And he pointed out that Arkansas is taking on Rice and Texas to start the season. And this is what Pittman had to say about the beginning of the season with Rice and Texas.
The old Southwest Conference rivalry means a lot to the people who's followed the program for a significant number of years. How about that? That sounds better? And excited to get Rice, you know, Rice in our stadium. I'm sure Rice is excited about it too. And I didn't know. I talked to Coach Hatfield, and, you know, he put it in plain terms. You know, it was the Texas schools and Arkansas, you know, and I didn't know that. So you can kind of see, you know, where it'd be exciting to get Rice in here. They're a very physical team, and like I said, I believe Marshall was 7-0, and they beat them for the first time. The first loss for Marshall. They're very physical on both sides of the ball, and they do some things defensively that are going to be difficult for us. A lot of movement. And then Texas, you know, like I said, in media days, I thought Coach called, when he was at Alabama, as good of a football game offensively as you could, and the national championship game. And we have a lot of respect for the Texas program. I know everybody's excited to get them in here in our stadium, including us. And but you know, that's certainly week 2. Right, the Texas game won't be near as significant if we don't go beat Rice, and that's the objective right now.
So again, that is Sam Pittman talking about Rice, and as well as Texas coming into town. And of course, you know, that's a big one. That's the one that all us old folks, of course, you got to remember, Pittman did get in trouble for calling people who remember the Southwest Conference as being old. That's why he had to word it the way he did in his press conference. I guess we're old, guys, because I remember that Southwest Conference. I remember the Rice and the Texas days, and you know, he's right. It was Texas, and then there was Arkansas.
Well, if you look at the screen here, you've got a 40, a 40, and a 39 in the screen. And we are the last generation to remember playing Texas as a conference foe. I mean, you in the intro, you've got me saying, I remember the conference champions of 88 and 89.
Mhm.
But that's it. I mean, we're the youngest of those people. So that tells you he was right.
We're
They
old.
are old.
We are old,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't take offense to that. But I mean, I think his take on it is absolutely correct. I mean, it's nice to redevelop those rivalries, and especially now that the Shorthorns are looking to join the SEC.
Yeah, there's a few things in life you remember when they happen, and I remember when Ken Hatfield was announced that he was leaving and he was going to Clemson, and how that felt when I was a kid. I remember my parent or my dad and people around me, upset over that. And you remember that. You remember Kennedy going. You remember 9/11. You remember Britney Spears' first video. All those things are some things you'll never forget. But anyways, hit me baby one more time. But anyways, we might have to cut all this. We're not gonna put this in here, right? Just
Yes,
playing.
sir.
But right. But,
Absolutely, we are.
I like what Pittman said though about thinking back to those old games, and it's not going to matter if we come out and we lose to Rice game 1. How big this Texas thing is, and everybody's built up for it and excited about it. It's going to really hurt that, and the build-up's not going to be there. So we've got to really focus on Rice first. They're a very physical football team, and you ain't got your head straight. Look at what we did to Georgia last year in game 1 at halftime. Or right before half. I know we were up 7-5 at one point, and they blew us out that second half. Kind of got away with it, but anything can happen. So we've got, and we all know this. We've played Colorado State under Chad Morris, and North
We've been
Texas.
broke down in the median since then too.
Right.
Right.
So,
How bad is Colorado State that they're 1-1 against Chad Morris?
Yeah. That's bad. That's really bad. It was some sad times, but we've got a lot of good stuff to look forward to. And if there's any guy I want running this team that I know is going to have the team in the right mindset, hashtag 1-0, baby, kind of going back to the little Bielema thing there, but it's Sam Pittman. So, I really think they're going to be ready when we play Rice, and I can't wait to see how we all look, the line and everything else.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I think he talked about in regards to the Rice and Texas combo is, I can guarantee you that every fan, every Arkansas fan is going to have that Texas date circled on their calendar. Now, how many of them do you think have Rice circled on their calendar? Not as many. And so I think what Pittman is saying is, hey, fans, we know you guys have forgotten that Rice can play. We don't want our team to forget that. And so what he's saying is you got to focus on Rice first, because if we overlook them looking at that big game that everybody in Razorback Nation has circled, that game's not going to be very important when it gets here on 9/11. So I think Pittman's absolutely correct. I think he's definitely prepping to not have that letdown.
That
We don't
reminds
want
me. Go ahead.
Well,
I was going to say. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, if we don't want it, we want that buildup. We want
Right.
that feel of, hey, man, this is a huge game, and it will be. Look, if Arkansas comes out and looks good against Rice, you've got all this buildup of Arkansas versus Texas, Texas coming to the SEC,
Yep.
all this stuff. There's eyes of college football are going to be on that ball game, ESPN, 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a huge thing for the program if they can come out and perform well.
Yeah, 100%. And I've already seen some groups trying to get some stuff going where let's get game day here. We got this preview of Texas coming in. They're going to be playing Arkansas. I think if we take care of Rice well, if we can win that game against Texas, that's probably going to get us nationally ranked right there. I really think we'll be right on the cusp of it coming into that game. So, I mean, those are big. And what I was going to say a minute ago is when you were talking about how if you don't, pay attention to Rice and you slip up there, that reminds me of back in 2005 when McFadden was a freshman, Peyton Hillis was a star running back. He'd come in the year before, and we had the kid from West Memphis. His name escapes me. That ran all over. Darius Howard. That's right. He kind of was a starter that year before McFadden started really playing. But we had USC coming up in game 2. Guess who we played first? We started that year with an SEC team, Vanderbilt. It was really strange. Jay Cutler was a quarterback. Nobody thought that we were going to lose that game. We slip up and we lose, and it really kind of dropped the luster for that USC game.
Listen,
and then we saw what happened.
I was at that game, and I can definitely attest that nobody in that stadium thought that Jay Cutler and the Commodores were going to beat us that day, and that was
Yeah.
the quietest, most lonely walk down the hill that I've ever had.
I was at that game as well, and I remember thinking, Frank Broyles is going to fire Houston Nutt right now. You know, you just don't lose to Vanderbilt. Of course, we've figured out a way to lose to them another time since then. I was at both of those games. Chad Morris was the coach, you know. So I guess what should I have expected? But yeah, you definitely didn't want to lose that one. But back to what we're talking about, this buildup can be massive for the program, can be massive for this team. Arkansas is able to win. Let's say they do beat Texas. I mean, you're really setting yourself up for some expectations for the season. See how they handle those things. But you've got the eyes of college football will be upon you at that point. And, you know, you're putting yourself in a really prime position as a second-year coach and Sam Pittman if you can figure out a way to pull that one off.
Yeah, and I know that technically he's a second-year coach, but in a way, because of COVID, he didn't have that build-up that we have this year, and so in a way, this is almost like his first season. In a lot of ways, it's the first time he's been able to go through that off-season process and to make a positional move if he wanted to, and to look at somebody over in the portal and pull somebody in. This is his first time around on that.
That's right. And it would be huge if you could win those 2 games. And then you got Georgia Southern, which a lot of people don't realize how good of a team Georgia Southern is. If you win against Texas, you're carrying massive momentum at that point. You're 2-0. I think you get the Georgia Southern win, and then you go into that A&M game. You know, that 3-0 playing A&M down in Arlington, and it's that game has been so tough over the years. We've been on the tough end of it every year, and since Petrino left, and since A&M joined the conference, really. So you know that would be a huge start, and it could really set up a 4-0 non-conference season this year. And that, if you want to win more than 6 games, especially,
You want to
that's
make it
something
to a
that
bowl
is
game.
really hard not to do.
Mhm.
It's really hard to do that without winning all 4 of those.
You want to make
One
it to a
thing
bowl game. You got to take care of the non-conference.
One thing I was thinking about is that we could be better. Arkansas could be better this year
Mhm.
and still not win as many SEC games as they did last year. I mean, it's possible. The schedule's just so tough. I mean, you go to Georgia, you go to Ole Miss, you know, Alabama's on the schedule. I mean, that's just awful. You got to go to them. You got to go to LSU.
Mhm.
I mean, those are tough ball games. You get Mississippi State at home. You get Missouri. Um, you know, you've got the opportunity to win. You've got to win those games. You've got to win those games for Arkansas if you're going to be a team that's going to have a chance to go to the bowl. But like you're saying, if you beat Texas and you get 4 non-conference wins, you got to come up with 2, just 2. And what a major step in the right direction it would be for Arkansas to be able to come up and get a bowl game this year.
Yeah, it would be huge, and I totally agree with you. So I mean, they're big. It would help us in momentum so much. So I'm excited, and let's just start it one game at a time. Let's go
That's it.
Rice, and we got to get it done right there.
That's it. That's it. And all of what we're talking about, it starts right now with the fall camp going on. It's going to be going on through the 4th. Based on this sheet that I'm looking at here. So definitely a fun field practice. It's going to be fun for the players, I'm sure. But they're going to be playing every day, or practicing every day until Wednesday. Practice 3, and then they'll have Sundays off through the rest of camp. But stay tuned right here to the Arkansas Sports Network. We're going to keep bringing this information to you when the press conferences happen. We are going to be there and bring it to you. You can catch all of that ArkansasSportsNetwork.com. You can look us up on Facebook. You can look us up on Twitter. We're even on YouTube. We're everywhere, guys. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have anything ASN related to mention?
Well, you know, I think that you definitely need to be watching. I wish that I could sit here and say what's about to happen, but we've got some really cool things happening. If you like high school football, especially high level high school football, probably need to pay attention to the Arkansas Sports Network.
Well,
That's all I can say right now.
Hey, look, I cast the line out there. I got a nibble, but he didn't take the bait. I tried, guys. But stay tuned. We're going to have that information coming to you on the Arkansas Sports Network, and we'll have all of the fall camp information coming to you as well. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll be back with more Razor Wire on the Arkansas Sports Network. Till next time, this is
The Razor Wire.